Hello, this is Justin Beerley. This is for EDL 856. This is for Module 8. This assignment was to create an internal and external communication chart for Chini USD 268. I chose to use a software called Glyphy to create my chart. The reason I chose the software was because I have not used this prior to this assignment, so I thought I would see how I liked it. Glyphy made the creation of this chart really pretty easy. The software is limited somewhat, but I did not really have any troubles in creating the chart. I divided my chart into two types of communication, internal and external. Internal communication can be defined as communication channels transferring information in between a school official to other school members or persons within the organization. External communication can be defined as transferring information between a school and other stakeholders or persons outside of the school. I think we do a pretty good job here at Chini communicating with stakeholders. However, I do think that we could do some things better, so there is room for improvement. So I'm going to go ahead and cover our internal communication here. I'm just going to follow the chart. First off, we have our administration. They primarily use email. I would say face-to-face communication is probably next. Then some phone calls as well. Surveys for communicating. Virtual. We've been using a lot of virtual communication here the last couple weeks especially. They do have to travel to communicate at times, and I would say meetings are another way they communicate. I do want to point out here that we do have a two-way communication is in the green, and a directional communication is in the yellow. So I would say that our administrators primarily use two-way communications, but at times they're definitely directional communication as well. Okay, staff members. Probably the number one type of communication is face-to-face, especially with students. I would say the second form of communication is emailing. The next form would be phone calls. We have weekly announcements we give. Virtual, we do attend meetings, and some of us use social media as a form of communication. Most of these forms of communication are two-way communications. They're really heavy on two-way communications, but at times they are directional as well. Students typically use face-to-face communication. Email, I would say, is number two, and then again virtually as well. Board of Education. All meetings are online. They can be watched. Of course, we have the minutes as well to follow along about a week or so later. Board of Education primarily uses email and face-to-face communication, sometimes phone calls as well. External communication here at Chini. Number one is parents. We have different ways to communicate with parents, and I kind of narrowed it down to about 7 or 8 choices here. Probably number one still at Chini is by email. And I would say number two is still face-to-face communication with parents. Phone calls is probably next. We do have parent-teacher conferences. However, they're only once or twice a semester, so that's not too frequently. We do use some social media to communicate, Twitter and Facebook especially. We do have an app that is created where we communicate with parents and all stakeholders. We do have our learning management system is PowerSchool, and we can create a power announcement to send to parents pretty quickly. It's basically typing an email and then it just pushes it out And that it could be, if the parent has an app, it could come through over their app as well. Partners. Typically, we communicate with our partners via email, um, also through social media at times, possibly through the app, and most definitely just phone calls. General public, we do still have a newsletter that is printed about once a month. And I think that is the main way we communicate with just the general public. Also through social media, Twitter, but especially Facebook for the older population. It seems like they get most of their information through Facebook. We do also have a website that they get information from. Specific community groups. Number one is email. Then I would say number two is face-to-face conversations, and then the last one is a phone call. We are kind of we're kind of old school when it comes to communication, I think, and I do think there's things we do well, but I do think there's things that we could improve upon at the same time. Okay, thank you.